Okay. Thank you for joining us. I never knew that this would happen to me when I decided to be an educator. And this is the foundation for giving this presentation on the principles of practice for implementing SECD. So my journey began over 20 years ago when my father was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And I knew our time together was precious. And I began having conversations with him about his work as a teacher. You see, I was a kid raised in the 20th century and a product of the 80s. So when I went to college, I earned a degree in economics and then my MBA. And my goals was to work on Wall Street and make lots of, what do you think? Money, right? You see, I believe success was to achieve a certain amount of money in my bank account. And I went on developing my career in finance and the business sector until my father's diagnosis, when I quit and came home to help my family care for him. One day, my father asked me a question, and his question changed the trajectory of my life. What he said to me was this: Patty, you've been serving the bottom line of companies for years now. When are you going to take your education and experiences and serve people? What he asked of me was so simple, I was struck silent. We lived near San Diego State University, where my father was a professor in the physical science department for 30 years. So I called the university and I found out that they were holding a orientation for their teacher program the next day. I went on to earn my teaching credential, and I began my career as a middle school and high school math and economics teacher. On the first day at the first school I taught at, my lesson was interrupted by an active shooter on campus event. We had been trained for such events, and we went into protection and safety mode while the campus was locked down and the police arrived and took the shooter into custody. What I wasn't prepared for was the long-lasting emotional trauma that the experience would have on my students, myself, and my colleagues. More than that, I wondered why my teacher preparation program offered me zero training on how to support my students in ways that help them cultivate their social and emotional competencies. I wondered, can people be taught to be good and develop a moral compass to guide them to make better choices and develop qualities such as empathy, respect, and kindness? Isn't education more than achieving A's? Our faculty and staff were advised the best path forward was to get back into our daily teaching and learning routine, which was essentially saying, ignore the student trauma and carry on as if nothing has happened. But that didn't work. Neither did sending the students to the school counselor, who was overwhelmed by students' emotional distress. I can't tell you the exact moment it occurred to me, but I began to realize that I wasn't a math teacher. I was a teacher of people, and these people, my students, are learning in social situations, and their capacity for learning is colored by their emotional state of being. I wanted to help by serving my students with my education and experiences to make their lives better, as my father had challenged me to do, but I didn't have the knowledge or skills to do so. That began my journey to seek professional development, supports and resources that would give me the opportunity to gain expertise to help our students achieve academically and thrive socially and emotionally. I'm Patricia Meacham, a facilitator for the Academy for SEL in Schools professional development programs in the general and accelerated tracks for direct instructions. Both programs offer a sequence of courses that help faculty and staff build their expertise for implementing the principles of practice for supporting student success and creating schools of social emotional competence and character. You might be asking yourself, what are schools of social emotional competence and character? Our leaders in the field of human development, social sciences, and education for decades have defined school of social emotional competence and characters as schools that nurture a moral compass in students. They build their social emotional competencies over time to act in ways they can be proud of and create a climate in which all students feel safe, cared for, and can achieve academic proficiency. These schools aim to prepare all children for participatory citizenship in the 21st century, regardless of their background and individual abilities. As teachers, we want our students to be knowledgeable, employable, responsible members of their families, and positive contributors to their communities and the wider world around them. In short, we want our students to engage in education experiences that will help them develop knowledge and skills to be both smart and good people. I'm going to be giving you information about the Academy for SEL in Schools professional development programs to gain expertise for instruction. Excuse me. We will also hear from Dr. Scott Taylor, who is a superintendent of schools in New Jersey and a co-founder of the Academy of SEL in Schools on the programs for professional development expertise in our leadership track. Afterwards, we're going to open the floor to take your questions. But I want to know a little bit more about you. So I'd like you to raise your hand if you have heard of SEL, social emotional learning, and CD, which we call character development. Yeah? No? Yes? Is that a yes? Okay. Let me also ask you to raise your hand if you are currently implementing an SEL or character education program with students or groups. Is that a yes? Yes? Okay, wonderful. So I'd like to take a moment to invite you to introduce yourself. Tell us your interest in SEL and where you're from.
Hi, my name is Alicia. I'm from Malaysia. And in my school, we've been implementing SEL for the past 2 years. And we've been really involved with the Academy for SEL in Schools. We've had a group of 10 educators who got certified with the SEL instruction track. And a group of 3 of us are currently going through the SEL leadership track.
Yeah. Awesome. And are you involved in that as well? Okay, super. Well, so I'm guessing you're probably not surprised then to know that research shows that teachers are the single most important classroom factor in a child's learning achievement. And it probably doesn't surprise you to know that teachers' effectiveness helping students is tied to their ongoing professional development for cultivating their expertise for implementation. The principles of practice for building expertise are ongoing professional development with resources and supports to gain skills and knowledge of strategies and empowering pedagogies, and an environment where faculty and staff have opportunities to practice these skills with their students in groups. Research on teacher effectiveness that includes meaningful and productive professional development defines professional development as a structured professional learning that results in a change to the teacher's knowledge and practices and improvements in student learning outcomes. They conceptualize professional learning as a product of both externally provided and job embedded activities that increase teachers' knowledge and help them to change their instructional practices in ways that support student learning. In addition to the ongoing professional development supports and resources, the other fundamental principles of practice for gaining expertise, implementing social emotional learning and character development, or SECD, is intentionally fostering a positive and inclusive school culture that promotes SEL, embedding SEL in all aspects of school practice, using data to monitor and continuously improve SEL implementation, and develop family and community partnerships, as well as receive SEL professional development coaching, feedback, and support from an SEL community of practitioners and colleagues. So I have a second activity that I'd like to ask you to engage in with us. I'd like you to take a moment to do a 2-minute writing exercise. So if you have a pen or paper, or you want to use your computer, let me know when you're ready. You're ready. Okay, thank you. All right. So the challenge for the writing is to write continuously for 2 minutes. This is a warm up for our brains to help our brain focus our attention. So the prompt that I will give you, I'll ask you to start to respond to it, and I'll be the timekeeper. All right. So if you're ready, you gave me a thumbs up. Wonderful. Please respond to this prompt by writing for 2 minutes. The goal I want to achieve by the end of this webinar is, the goal I want to achieve by the end of this webinar is, please begin now. Thank you for writing. All right. Are you done? Okay. By setting intentional goals and sharing them, it will help us personalize the information in my description of the programs. So Alicia, would you like to share with us what your goal is?
Okay, I wrote that the goal I want to achieve by the end of the webinar is to know how to implement effective staff development in a challenging and fast-paced environment, to know research-based practices that might help with a communication plan, and developing a framework that is integrated with teachers' overall professional development needs, including academic and SEL aspects.
Okay. So is there a particular grade level that you're working with, or is this a school-wide program?
The school-wide program.
And what grade level?
We serve students from ages 2 to 18 or 20.
Okay, 18 to 20? So it's
Yeah.
adults? Okay, okay, great.
Or college level students.
College level, all right. And your interest in SEL, what's your role?
I'm the SEL coordinator for the school. So we've been running programs for students, for teachers, as well as for parents and the wider community.
Excellent. Well, then you're doing everything that you need to do. You are implementing and growing those skills through those practices. So it sounds like this is going to be a review for you, since you have colleagues that are already in the academy and have graduated. So excellent. That's wonderful, Alicia. All right. Well, then I'll just continue. Thank you for letting me know what those goals are. All right. So sorry about that. All right, so then you already know, so this will be a review, that the Academy of SEL in Schools is in partnership with Rutgers University and St. Elizabeth University. The general track is a sequence of three courses. The first two are 10 weeks long. The 101 is SEL Foundations, and the 102 is SEL Pedagogy. And the third course is the SEL Practicum, and it's a 15-week long course. We also have an accelerated track for those faculty and staff who can document 5+ years of experiencing implementing SEL principles and practices. And the focus of the accelerated is delivering SECD workshops and presentations. So both the general track and the accelerated track help our staff and faculty in their efforts to develop expertise where staff receive coaching and feedback and engage in ways that help them create a school culture that values and prioritizes social and emotional learning and promotes equity and excellence in their students' education. It also helps them increase their awareness and knowledge about the powerful and purposeful pedagogy and practices that support their efforts to successfully embed SEL in all aspects of the school practice, from curriculum development to classroom management to discipline policies. Our 103 practicum course helps our faculty and staff design, deliver, and revise SECD weekly lessons where they receive weekly feedback and coaching, engage in our strategies for assessing students' SEL needs, and using data to monitor and continuously improve their skills for SEL implementation consistently. So during the practicum course, faculty and staff learn how to use qualitative and quantitative data to identify areas for improvement, adjust their practices, and measure progress to achieve their students' SECD goals. The principle of practice of developing family and community partnerships emphasizes the importance of building strong partnerships to support student SEL development. This principle is embedded in all the courses. Our colleagues learn ways to inform, invite, and involve their students' families to create a shared understanding of the importance of SEL and develop strategies for supporting student SEL development, both at home and at school. So, as you know, once our colleagues graduate and earn their certificate, they are invited to join our community of SEL scholars and practitioners through the virtual professional learning community organized by the Academy for SEL in Schools. Learning and ongoing professional development never ends, and our graduates are encouraged to share their expertise and experiences with their colleagues through the virtual PLC opportunities. And many of the faculty and colleagues continue to be recognized by earning the Academy's SECD badges for their postgraduate work. We know that teaching isn't just about imparting academic knowledge. It's about helping our students develop the skills and qualities they need to thrive as individuals and members of society. When I reflect on my reasons for pursuing a career in education, like most educators, I'm reminding myself that being a teacher is not a job. Being a teacher is my life's purpose, one where I have the highest potential to achieve my desire to make a positive difference in my students' lives by helping them improve their lives. Most of us have found fond memories of teachers that have made a positive difference in our lives. There are many research studies that conclude that it was the teacher's positive social and emotional aspects that made the difference to us. I want to end by sharing remarks that inspire me and motivate me to keep going. And my hope is that it will inspire you to keep doing good work that is a service to others. This comes from the Academy for SEL in Schools co-director and director of the Rutgers University SECD Lab, Dr. Maurice Elias. Back in December of 2022, in a podcast hosted by Classcraft in a series they call Chat with the Experts, he was asked, what is SEL and why is it important? Here's what he said. SEL is all about helping students understand and strengthen the connections that exist between themselves, their learning experiences, and everyone around them. And when he was asked, how did he feel, why did he feel that SEL competencies matters? Professor Elias said, I view social emotional competencies to be a lot like oxygen in that they are essential for life. We are social beings, and virtually everything we do involves other people. We are not islands of independence. Therefore, we exercise our social emotional skills from birth. From the moment kids learn how to cry to get their parents' attention, all the way through to the end of life. Our ability to interact with other people is an essential life skill. We need to learn to manage and recognize our emotions, work in groups, and be good problem solvers. These are the things that are foundational to being a human. I believe Professor Elias's remarks demonstrate that we have a shared responsibility to help our students cultivate their social and emotional competencies and positive qualities of character that help them succeed in school and beyond. Therefore, it is imperative that we continue to engage in cultivating our professional development experiences for our staff, faculty, and colleagues, and help them gain expertise implementing these principles of practice of SEL and character development in our students' daily lives and experiences in and out of the classroom. So I'm going to take a moment. I want to invite you to just stretch for a second, take a moment. And I'm going to queue up now Dr. Scott Taylor's presentation on his discussion describing our leadership track. So I'll just take a moment. Thank you, Alicia. All right. Okay. And let me share my screen so that I can share this with you. I'm just curious, what time is it there in Malaysia?
It's almost 9 o'clock in the
Oh,
morning.
okay. Not too late. In the morning?
In the morning.
In the morning. Good morning. All right, here we go. All right.
Spend a lot of time in the SEL 301 program building our network, and I'm going to talk about that in a couple of slides, and developing relationships. And I think that's one of the most special things about, in general, about the academy, let alone the course I facilitate. Very rare you have an opportunity to get 10, 15, 20 people, depending on who signs up that semester, together who all have drunk the SEL Kool-Aid from different parts of the world. And so this network ends up becoming something that we rely on when we lead the program. I'll talk more about that, like I said, in a couple of slides. By the way, thumb balls are out there. You can just go to Amazon and type in a search for them, and the cheaper ones are $15. I have a stash of them. They're great to use with kids, obviously. One way that I've seen thumb balls used in the SEL world is to, when opening up morning meetings with kids, either part of the responsive classroom model or otherwise, is to get kids to toss the ball to each other, start with a greeting. So they either, that greeting could be something, a handshake, could be, an elbow bump. I've seen some other creative things done. And then respond to the prompt. So kids are talking about their personal selves while at the same time enhancing their interpersonal skills. Rich knows something about me, Martha, you may not, and those of you who will be watching this recording should know that I'm currently a practitioner. I'm the superintendent, my 10th year in the position, worked in several districts. Right now I'm in a community called Union, New Jersey, which is in the northern part of New Jersey. I'm also an actual professor for a while now, Rutgers among I teach in their leadership strand. So it's important for you to know that I shared my thinking through a practitioner lens with participants. I talk about my failures. Many more of them were there than my successes, but I talk about my successes as well. And I put my professor hat on as well when we do some of our workshops and talk about the theory, the research that informs informal and formal leadership. And on a personal note, I'm a father of 2 girls and a husband to a special educator. And you can learn more about me by going to that website, taylorleadership.net. So in the next 5 or 10 minutes, I'd like to have us in the back of our mind be thinking about the essential question. And those of you who know Understanding by Design and Grant Wiggins and Jay McKay know what an essential question is. It's this overarching question that's supposed to frame how you're thinking about something. So what I really want to do is have you be thinking as I share how this program can help you be more effective as a leader, a formal leader like Rich. I don't, Martha, what do you do? I should ask that before I get into this too far. Unmute yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, so as a mental health interventionist in the high school, I support students with social, emotional, and mental health. So we have academic school counselors, but I'm kind of an extension of that, where I don't do like the scheduling and the credit checks and the academic focus stuff. I'm working with students on anything socially, emotionally, mental health wise that's going on that's impacting their access to learning. And that includes kind of resources and things like that. So I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I can practice independently, but I'm practicing in a school.
So I would refer to you as an informal leader. You may not have a leadership title like Rich has. He's an SEL coordinator. Assuming that's an admin level position, formal leadership position, but you're still an informal leader among your peers. So
Right, I would say that we
Yeah.
have the district SEL coordinator, and she sent out these series of webinars and for the SEL Academy, and I want to kind of report back to my district what I'm learning and seeing if I can get a voice with the leaders to get something going, because I feel like, especially after the last couple of years, we need to strengthen our services in the school and our culture and our climate around this work.
So this program helps people like you enhance leadership skills so that you can be even more effective in attracting people like a hybrid should be to follow the SEL vision you have. So I want you to be thinking about that as I share these next series of slides. So I want to make sure you understand what SEL 301 is. I'm going to share a couple of slides with you about that. And also just dabble a little bit into what I talk about in the workshops that I facilitate. First things first, you should know, you take part in the program, my class, SEL 301, which is the capstone, it's the third of a 3-course progression, is 15 weeks long. And there are specific activities I ask participants to complete. And through that work, I provide detailed feedback, really concrete feedback. So if you share an action plan, I'm going to get back to you and link resources in the doc when I give you feedback. I'm going to suggest maybe a change in the way you're ordering your layout of actions. I'll also be facilitating a series of workshops. And it's during those workshops that I talk more about the research and the theory about leadership. And then we do some activities, as I pointed out earlier, just sampling of them. The culminating task, I think, is helpful for the participant, not only in their work towards completing the program, but also for personal use, professional use, for future, for posterity's sake. I ask that everybody compile artifacts, which can be pictures, memoranda, videos of workshops that the individual may have facilitated in a folder, and then share that folder with me so that not only am I being assured that the participant has completed the program successfully to a great extent, but also so that I can give you additional feedback and that you have something that you can use and refer to in the future. If you want to circle back to the work that you did in the class, perhaps because you're going for a job interview and you want to refer people to that work. So the last thing I want to make sure I refer to is the network I talked about earlier. The network's powerful, and this slide is representative of how the network continues outside of what we do after the 15 weeks. Danielle Newfer, whose book I took a screenshot of, that's her, was a participant a year and a half ago. And I've been working with now as a consultant to facilitate virtual self-care workshops around this book she wrote for 33 of my teachers. So there is a revenue stream that can come out of this network, if worse comes to worse. And then this is just a shot of those teachers working virtually with Danielle. So the network's really powerful. The course is broken down into stages. The first stage of SEL 3.1 has me just helping you identify the project that you come to the table with. It could be something that you've already been working on, you want to enhance, or something brand new. And make sure that that project is viable, not just this pie in the sky idea that you're hoping you can throw on the wall and sticks. The second phase has us looking at ourselves as I help you better understand your leadership world, because I really believe strongly that an effective leader is a leader who understands his or her or their identity, personal identity, upbringing, how our childhood influences our leadership style. So I do ask you to reach back into your past. And of course, all the Freudian, issues come up. And I'm no therapist, but we certainly enjoy fleshing out some of the things that may have affected you as an adult and in your professional world. And we of course talk about the ways that you can get people to come along and reform the culture to your liking. The fourth phase, which is the next to last phase, has us addressing the challenges you're experiencing. And this is where the network comes in. It's so nice to spend an hour with people in a workshop. We have 4 around across the 15 weeks and commiserate, but also get something out of other people to help you solve some of the challenges. And then finally, the wrap up has us looking at the future, what the next 3 years after the project's been implemented look like. So I want to dabble in one of the activities that I facilitate when we talk about self-identity and our awareness of ourselves and how that influences our leadership. Patty, Martha, Rich, if you would please grab a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil. And I'm gonna say it once and only once, although it's up there on the screen if you forget what I asked you to do. Please, or direct you to do, please draw a pig. Okay, I'm not going to give you too much time to do this because I'm only asking you to draw a pig and what could you possibly be covered up with. So this scientifically proven assessment, not really, is loosely based on the Myers-Briggs assessment, which is a popular human resources tool to help people determine their personality traits and how it might affect their work. But
Sorry, Patricia, I can't hear anything. I think the audio cut off.
yeah, you did. It means you're positive and optimistic. So that's troubling, but we'll leave it at that. If it's in the middle, you're a realist. If it's towards the bottom, you're a pessimist. Now, if it's facing left, which I believe is the case for all three of you, it means you're the one who believes in, you're very friendly, but you believe in honoring traditional celebrations like birthdays. But you're the guys and gals. You're probably the sunshine club chairs, and you probably keep track of birthdays and make sure everybody's honoring each other's birthday. That's my guess. If you're facing right, isn't the case here, but just so you know, means you're innovative, but you're not really, you don't have much of a sense of humor. That makes sense, because Martha, you smile a lot. I can tell that already. And Rich has already joked with me. Patty, I can tell you, she could be shocked in her. Humorous on some level. It's facing forward, which isn't the case for any of you. That you're direct. If you had many details on your pig, and these are analytical. I didn't see many details in your cases. A few details, it means you're emotional, naive, you tend to take risks, you don't even care. That's where the naivete comes in. Or like, the case for the couple is you're secure. Upper, less than 4 like, you're very secure. Larger the ears, the better listener you are. Obviously, this doesn't really say a lot about your personality, but the tool gives us some leverage to have a discussion, which ends up becoming really hardy about who we are, how we became who we are, and how that influences how we lead. Now we're leading people as informal leaders to support our project. You can click this link and download the cheat sheet I read from so that you can use this in your classes, in your workshops if you'd like. Really easy, bit.ly/SEL301 Myers-Pig. And some of the things we talk about are these questions. You know, we spent about 30 to 35, maybe 40 minutes, which is almost 3/4 of a workshop, just talking about this, and then discussing how not only do we have to leverage the what we know about ourselves and what we don't know, but we have to invoke best practices if we're going to be effective leaders. And this is where I talk about, it's the point at which I talk about research and theory. Michael Fullan, by the way, is one of the most prominent and well-respected among practitioners, researchers out there. He's still alive, he's still doing the research. And the reason why he's, to me, the golden child of reforms, because he actually presents very concrete action steps, strategies to help people like us who are trying to lead others, informally or formally, to make change. And then, for instance, this is just a sampling of what I talked about in our workshops. He talks about the importance of using certain key phrases or buzzwords, mantras, in as much of the language we use with other people as we can that speak to our project work. I'll give you a great example. One of my high school principals in a previous district I led came up with an acronym, OWLS, OWLS. It's based on the philosophy of the school. It stands for openness, wisdom, leadership, and service. I remember it. Even though it's 4 years since I've worked with this guy, because he talked about it ad nauseum, found a way to weave it into a lot of what he talked about, including his graduation speeches. So we talk a lot about that. We talk about Fullan's emphasis on language, on repetition, and on the importance of visual symbols as well to improve our leadership. With that, I'm going to pause and Patty, I know you're going to be taking questions, but I do have a couple of minutes in case Martha and Rich want to ask any questions that I can answer. So please go ahead, Martha and Rich, if you'd like to share. If not, and you have questions later, Patty will be available to you.
Forward them to Scott here. So I don't know if you're leaving your contact information, Scott, for them to go ahead and reach out to you if you they think of any questions later.
That's a great idea, and I'm gonna put it in the chat, and I'm gonna give you my email address, so please. Go ahead and feel free to email me. And I will get back to you promptly. So thank you, Rich and Martin, for being here. I'm gonna step out now. And Patty, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott.
Take care.
All right.
Okay, hold on.
All right. Well, again, thank you for being here. I'm gonna speak on the
Alicia, can you hear me? Okay, great. All right. So I would love to learn a little bit more about your situation working with your groups and your experiences, and then how you want to continue them. Because I loved your questions. They were very detailed. I have some thoughts I want to offer, but I feel like I need a little bit more context.
All right. Dr. Scott Taylor is actually my SEL 301 instructor right now. So I think he looks younger now than he does in the video, strangely.
Interesting. Did he ask you to draw your pig?
Not yet. So that's a spoiler.
I thought it was interesting. Yours, did it have a body?
It didn't have a
It
body.
just had the.
Yeah.
I saw that. I thought, oh, okay, that's going to be an interesting analysis.
Yeah.
So, are you enjoying that course?
Yes, yeah. So we've just submitted a more detailed action plan for his feedback. Maybe what I'll share with you is that one of the components of the SEL professional development that we're rolling out this year that has already started is kind of a condensed version of the certification course that our educators went through. So after investing in our educators going through the whole program, we thought it would be really important to pass on that knowledge to our other colleagues. And we're really excited that we have a cohort of 13 people who have signed on. So what we've designed is kind of like a compressed course. So we've talked to them about SEL and character education, which was new to them, because we've been implementing SEL for the past 2 years, but character education was something that was completely new to them. They hadn't heard of it before. And then yesterday, we had a class on the connection between academics and SEL and how to integrate SEL into everything that we do in the school. Yeah, so we have a few more classes planned. But I think one of the challenges that I'm facing or that I anticipate is how to get educators to commit to it. Or maybe this is a structural problem, but the educators at our school, they're really busy, and I think I can see the investment right now, but how do we kind of sustain that momentum and make sure that no one drops out or no one feels like it's the work that we're doing is too overwhelming, and that it's unmanageable? Yeah. If you have any thoughts on that.
I do. As a matter of fact, I needed to have a condensed version of the little mini lecture I was giving in the professional development. And one of the components that I actually took out was the common challenges to integrating SECD and implementing those principles of practice. So oftentimes it will come down to time constraints. Teachers feel that they're already doing so much. Okay. So a way to counter that myth is to remind them that in our system of education where we have report cards, we are already assessing our students' citizenship grades, for instance, how they cooperate and collaborate. So the difference would be helping our educators understand that what they're doing can be enhanced with intentionality and with practice. And that having what I love to call a beginner's mindset or a lifelong learner's mindset, which is there's always something new to learn, not just for the teacher, not just for the students, but for the teacher. So again, the idea that the teacher is always modeling, whether they're intentional or not, So when you bring to the height of awareness, you bring it to the top of the mind, then it takes on a whole different perspective for the educator. So an educator who's working with very young children, middle school or high school children, their challenge is to find a way to integrate these lessons within their subject that is developmentally appropriate. Okay, so Scott mentioned morning meetings, checking in with your students. That works all the way through the grade levels, and it works with adults as well. So there are commonly known myths that you could address with them right away. And another exercise is to have them just pour out in a stream of consciousness writing, like we did with goal setting, all the things that they feel will challenge them and why they would not be able to stay the course and consistently implement this. And then help them realize that one, they're probably already doing this, but they didn't know that that by doing it intentionally, that they can have more of an impact. So it's not an extra burden. And another point that we know from our research is it's always been a part of academics to not just educate for academic knowledge, being smart, but also how does one communicate, collaborate, and how does one cultivate the mindset, the skills, the attitudes, the qualities of character, the core values that help them be successful in society. So, for instance, Dr. Elias and Dr. Marvin Berkowitz published a quick brochure. It's like 6 pages. It's a quick brochure. It's laminated and it has I love the 3 holes. So at professional development webinars, I often will order these and or the teachers will order these and we'll pass them out because it's a kind of quick view of strategies, techniques. And one of them that is covered, it's interesting that you asked that, Alicia, is the 5 myths of social emotional competence and character, of creating schools of social emotional competence and character. So one of them is the myth that fostering social emotional competence and character development is not the role of the school. So it provides information there about how it is, and it's been embedded as a principal foundation for the purpose of schools. A second myth that's common that you'll hear educators say is that character education, social emotional competencies compete with the true purpose of school, which is to become smart, right? But again, that rolls back to the first myth, and that the true purpose is the development of the whole being, which is emotions, social interactions, and cognitive development, and brain smarts, facts, and things like that. Also, a third myth is given the current pressure for higher achievement, schools cannot afford to add character education to an already busy and overcrowded curriculum. And in fact, that myth shows that research shows that an intentional effort to promote good character in students has the effect of increasing academic achievement. So by focusing on character development and social emotional competencies, research shows over and over and over again, a $1 investment can increase the potential over a lifetime of this person earning $11. So it's an 11-fold increase. And also that 11 number is very interesting because research has shown that those that have students that have had systematic and intentional direct instruction in a character education or social emotional program, academic achievement increases by 11%. So they're actually more engaged when they learn to set goals, be responsible for their own achievement. So setting goals, responsible decisions, self-managing, self-awareness, and relationship skills are all part of what is required to be successful in a world where we're interacting with people all the time. That's why I love that quote that Dr. Elias said during that podcast, that SEL is about helping students relate to the connections to themselves and to the people around them. The other two myths that you might hear is that by the time children get to school, their personalities and core values have already formed. And that may be true, but not every child has the opportunity from home to learn these values that are necessary or have this experience and modeling for them. So it is, in fact, a purpose of school again. And again, that's why I focused on my talk that the influence of the teacher, must be understood how significant that is as a motivation to continually be aware and intentionally integrate these principles of practice. So a point of principle that you could share with your teachers is that, is that it takes time. So you have to commit yourself to practice. So just like our students are building skills, they will build skills to integrate core values and character qualities and traits that will help their students succeed. A place to begin is to look at your school's mission and vision statement. So oftentimes schools will say, we want our students to achieve academically and to be respectful, kind citizens. So there you go, right there, embedded in the purpose of education in the school's mission and vision statement is this idea of helping that child develop his whole being. So a lot of scholars would call this, social emotional learning and character education is the other side of the report card. So we have academics and then we have that citizenship piece. Is that helpful? All right. I had something I wanted to offer to share with you since you have graduated from the program and you're going to be continuing. I want to congratulate you that you are making efforts and initiatives to condense the program that you went through for your teachers. But I also want to caution you that sometimes without the full experience and having it condensed, it could be difficult to get buy-in. It could be difficult to have them really commit to in developing their practice. So I'm curious why you would not just have them come through the same, so that you had consistency, the same training that you went through the program.
Oh, we can't afford it.
Okay,
yeah.
that is what I was going to say is oftentimes it'll be something like that. So that's fine. It's wonderful, and I applaud you for doing it and for sharing. So I have another thing that another suggestion that might help your group that I'd like to share with you. Right. So it is this. This is the book that Dr. Elias from Rutgers University and the SECD lab and Dr. Vicky Podobicki from who's also our director for the Academy, that they created that has it says a comprehensive SEL resource kit. So they just published this, I believe it was last year. So you might want to take a look at this, and it might be a great investment as a reference resource. Not only that, but it has step-by-step a lot of the documents and strategies and activities that we were engaging in through the program. So I'll show it to you again. Social Emotional Learning Lab, a comprehensive SEL resource kit. So this book might be something that can help you with moving forward your professional development for your teachers in a condensed version. You will have it as it's an excellent reference.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that.
All right. Is there any other questions that you have? I'd love to hear them and try to contribute if I can.
Yeah, just now you mentioned that after people graduate from the program, they are encouraged to be in a community of SEL scholars.
Yes.
Could you share a little bit more about that?
Yes. I was going to share my screen and show you the 3 sites, the SEL in schools, the St. Elizabeth University, and Rutgers University. All right, so those 3 sites are connected together. And on the site, and are you familiar with Dr. Vicky? Her contact information is there. She has more detailed information than I do about the structure of that project and how that project is moving forward. So I would encourage you to contact her and ask her to send more detailed information. We call it the VPLC, the Virtual Professional Learning Community. And it's a resource. The second piece that I spoke about, which is also a new program, is recognizing those who have graduated with their certificate, who continue to do work, and they earn badges of recognition from the academy. So that's a second project that is relatively new that she could tell you more details about. I'm sorry, I don't have them myself. All right, that's exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah.
All right.
Because I was thinking of how to continue motivating the people who have already graduated from the program. Of course, they're implementing SEL in their classes, but I think all of them are looking for additional ways to continue practicing and implementing the things that they've learned. So I think if there were opportunities like this, it would be good to share with them.
Absolutely. Another great way to continue to motivate our educators that have graduated is to pair them with a colleague so that they can offer them observations, suggestions, and they have someone to bounce ideas back and forth on. So our program is very heavy on engaging, coaching, offering feedback, comments, compliments, challenges. So I would suggest keeping them talking, keeping them engaged by maybe even planning a weekly session for them to come in, share their what works, and ask for the community to help them problem solve on things that could work better. And that way you're sharing the information, you're sharing the knowledge, and you're still practicing and developing the skills of integrating, designing, delivering, and integrating these SECD lessons. So keep them talking, keep them communicating. Do you also have a support for your role and responsibilities?
Yeah, so I have a team that works together with me. It's a relatively small team, but I think for it does show the school's commitment to implementing SEL. So I have 2 program developers, and we also have a research coordinator because we received a grant that kind of requires us to evaluate the effectiveness of the SEL program.
Congratulations. It sounds like you're doing wonderful work there in Malaysia. Wonderful work.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Alicia, for joining. Have a beautiful day. It's already Friday there, Friday morning.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining, and contact us. Please, I encourage you to contact Dr. Vicky to receive more information about the virtual PLC and the badging opportunities. And I do think that will continue to motivate your teachers that have graduated to continue their good work. It was great.
So much.
It was great meeting you.
Yep, it was lovely to meet you as well. Thank you for the informative webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have
Good
a
night.
good evening.
I mean, good morning.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Bye.
you. Good night.